Every metropolis operates on a hidden internal clock. In New York, right before the sunrise, there is a tiny, almost imperceptible window where the entire system rests. Thousands of tons of steel, glass, and concrete sit completely idle. It is a massive, silent vacuum of infrastructure, holding its breath before the daily ignition sequence. That lack of motion feels heavily coiled. The wide, empty avenues and quiet transit lines create a physical tension, waiting for the millions of people who will eventually flood the grid. As the sun hits the cold concrete, moisture trapped in the substrate vents upward through iron grates, turning the first light into visible thermodynamics. This morning stillness functions as the final intake stroke, the necessary pause before the monumental engine fires. At 7 a.m., the vacuum breaks. A concentrated mass of human energy pours directly into the primary transit arteries. Observed from above, the flow through the main terminal mimics biological circulation. People move through the concourse and into the surrounding streets, like blood through the central valves of a pressurized system. To sustain that rush, the grid immediately activates corner-level distribution nodes, tiny, isolated commercial units deployed directly onto the pavement to feed the moving workforce. Running these microeconomies requires high logistical precision. Vendors haul supplies through congested sidewalks, establishing stationary outposts in the middle of a shifting human current. Right next to that pedestrian current, a parallel system dominates the asphalt. Regiments of vehicles move forward in synchronized bursts, occupying every available inch of the lane. The island's strict grid layout leaves no room for organic, winding movement. All kinetic energy is forced down straight, hyper-efficient corridors. When these high-density channels cross each other every few hundred feet, they create immense physical friction. Cars, bikes, and pedestrians negotiate shared space through a series of timed mechanical stops. The resulting movement forms a self-organizing thermodynamic system, where the overwhelming volume of individual variables is strictly governed by the timing of the grid. Manhattan Island is a geographically finite space. Once horizontal friction reaches critical capacity, the accumulated pressure redirects upward. The architecture responds by stretching vertically. These structural frameworks maximize internal volume for thousands of workers while occupying the smallest possible footprint at the street level. Reflective curtain walls wrap these towers, mirroring the surrounding clouds. This allows the immense physical mass of the building to literally dissolve into the open atmosphere. That upward pressure also creates aerial commute vectors. Commuter lines detach from the ground entirely, suspended from heavy steel cables to ferry passengers between isolated landmasses. By lifting the route hundreds of feet above the water, these suspended systems bypass the mathematical friction of the intersections below. This extreme verticality solves the practical problem of crowding, while serving as the physical expression of the city's relentless ambition. As the Earth rotates away from the sun, the urban grid hits its threshold of darkness. At this point, it severs its reliance on natural solar cycles. The city generates its own synthetic daylight. Massive amounts of localized electrical output surge into commercial nodes, blanketing the intersections in high-wattage illumination. This visual density is engineered to capture focus. The saturation of shifting colors and towering digital displays maintains a high level of sensory engagement long into the nocturnal cycle. Long exposure photography reveals these movements as hard data. The continuous ribbons of red and white moving across the bridges are a measurable record of an engine that never shuts down. On a macro scale, the intensity of this output is clear. The coastline glows against the blackness of the water and sky surrounding the island. The metropolis persists as a closed-loop system, a self-sustaining, pulsing grid of perpetual energy.